Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I've exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on. So and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head.
And see, I used to agree with Jordan Peterson, but now I no longer agree with him because the left is making me feel unsafe and I feel like they're putting my life at risk. Before we get into this video, make sure you hit like, share my videos, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, make sure that your notifications are on and they're set to all. Now, let's get into this. But first, quick commercial break. Wow, how about this? Noble Gold, one of the sponsors of our show, have just been picked by Consumer Affairs, you know, the rating agency, as the overall #1 gold IRA company in the US. Talk to the team today if you're thinking about precious metals. And if you quick, they're giving away an incredible 1/10 ounce American Eagle gold proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. And all you got to do is just call the team at 1-877-646-5347 to find out more, or you can just visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, let's get to this video. What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. And that's right, y'all. I sat there and I listened to that opening and it made perfect sense at one point. Whereas if we are going to have a society that, you know, encourages freedom of ideas, freedom of thoughts, freedom of speech, the ability to debate and all of that stuff, we have to be willing to risk offending somebody. I mean, you can't have a reasonable debate or disagreement without some type of offense or making somebody upset. Nobody's going to get along perfectly all the time. You're going to have these type of situations pop up. But according to the left, now every time someone gets online and they disagrees or they criticizes someone or a group of people who have a certain belief, instead of being able to debate the merits of the belief and have dialogue and just agree to disagree, apparently it appears that the majority of big tech and of course definitely the news, the fake news and all of that, and Hollywood, all of them, they've adopted this mentality that if you disagree with someone and you criticize them, you're putting their life in danger.
What can be said in defense of this lunacy? Apparently nothing at all, which is why the media has, again, leapt into action this week, not to defend the practice, but to call for critics of the practice to be silenced on the grounds that we're engaging in harassment and incitement. This is what Christopher Rufo, I think, aptly calls discourse engineering, and we're seeing it play out perhaps rarely as starkly and blatantly as it has this week. And it always follows the same basic path, right? The left engages in some kind of outrageous, sickening behavior. They get away with it for a long time, right? And but they keep pushing the envelope, and eventually they go too far, and people notice, and then a public backlash follows. And but then the media comes along and ignores the actual reason for the backlash, completely sidesteps the criticisms that the critics are actually making, and instead cries about harassment and incitement, and calls on more powerful institutions like big tech to deplatform and silence the critics. And usually they get their way. It was announced last night that the Libs of TikTok account on Facebook has now been suspended, seemingly on a permanent basis. Now, the ostensible reason is that the account ran afoul of community standards because of its posts about the Boston Children's Hospital child mutilation program. But all that Libs of TikTok did, of course, is simply point out what BCH was doing and criticize them for it. There has been, once again, no effort to engage with the criticism. It is easier simply to silence them. Now the pressure is falling on Twitter to follow suit and ban anyone who criticizes or even talks about the drugging and mutilating of children. Matt Walsh is going to get someone killed. Twitter should suspend him for inciting violence. If you want evidence, just look at my mentions from him yesterday. These are the same violent nutjobs that murdered George Tiller for providing abortions. A show on Twitter doesn't faze me, but calls for violence and dehumanizing healthcare workers is a different story. This is screaming fire in a crowded theater, and Twitter shouldn't facilitate it. Someone is going to get killed. But you know, if criticism is incitement, then it must be said that Brianna Wu is inciting violence against me. Media matters. is the most guilty of this. Media Matters is certainly guilty of incitement. In fact, Media Matters has been attacking me relentlessly for years. They are guilty of harassment and incitement by their own logic.
That's considered to be hate speech. And I sat and I thought to myself, you know what? The left might be right. Because as much as they criticize us, as much as they demonize us, as much as they call us names, as much as they label us, I mean, if that's true, if that's considered hate speech just because you criticize somebody, if that's considered putting somebody's life in danger, then I fear for my life. As a black man, as a conservative, I fear for my life. Maybe I should just play by the rules of the left. Slide in some identity politics, become the victim. Ask Big Tech, where are you? Why aren't you censoring these people? I'm about to show y'all a montage of all the things that the left be saying. It makes me feel unsafe. They trying to unexist me. Okay, YouTube, could you get all of these people off? Facebook, can you ban all these accounts? All of these big platforms. I want to see you do something to them because they're making me feel unsafe as a black conservative in America when they criticize me or demonize conservatives, label us, throw us in the categories. You know what? They might be encouraging folks to become violent against us because if I was to be a person who maybe didn't understand the game that was being played, and I heard all of the things that you're about to hear concerning conservatives, and I believed it, I might be encouraged to do some damage to them, and I don't feel safe, y'all. All right, so YouTube, after you finish watching this, I need y'all to go ahead and find these people and shut them down on the internets, okay? So before we get into it, one of the things that I notice the Democrats do and the news do is they maybe sometimes embellish a little bit about the fallout or the effects of people who disagree with someone else, or maybe you disagree with policies. It's never you just disagree. Maybe we could work it out, find a happy medium. It's always somebody's gonna die. Do you understand how afraid one would live their life if everything that they approached was from the perspective of if you don't do what I say or agree with me, somebody is going to die. When I'd be over my grandmother's house when I grew up, and she was very superstitious. And every little omen that took place, everything out of the norm that happened, it was always somebody's going to die. Can you imagine being 9 years old? A bird fly in the house, a bird flew in the house, somebody's going to die. What? What do you mean? A knock on the door, you go to the door, ain't nobody there? Somebody's gonna die. Had us living in fear the whole time. And that's one of the strategies I'm noticing from the Democrat Party. It's always over the top. It's never people have disagreed with us. And you know what? I mean, next time if we win, we'll go ahead and change the policies and so on and so forth. No, it's do what we say or somebody's gonna die. You're putting lives in danger. So therefore, guys, since they felt everything that happened put people's lives in danger, and if you think I'm lying, just check this out.
People are dying.
People will die. Women are going to die, Gail. Women will die.
So not going to allow trans kids to play sports. Children will die.
We've seen that trans kids suffer from extremely high suicide rates.
To hear a 10-year-old say that they would rather die than experience male puberty.
The most comprehensive study to date on climate change predicts more and more people are going to die from air pollution if changes are not made.
People are suffering and dying. People are dying.
These policies kill. People will die.
People die.
How many more people have to die to get some gun control?
Your mistake is killing the children in your state.
This decision and this policy will kill people.
We are also going to see a lot of South Dakota women die because of this.
It's not an extreme statement to say that women will die.
I thought I was going to die.
People are dying because of misinformation.
How many more Americans have to die?
Всі люди, які загинуть від цього дня, загинуть.
People are dying and will die who don't have to die.
Man! Well, you know what?
This is a death call.
I mean,
let's get on with the dying.
Let's get on with the dying. I mean, I'm scared now, guys, because according to them, whenever you disagree with a policy politically, then people are going to die. And so for all of these folks who unfortunately disagrees with our conservative views or policies, I mean, people are going to die, including me. I might die. I mean, If y'all don't give us what we want and commit to the policies that we believe in, then people are going to die. I mean, like AOC said, I almost died. I feel like that all the time, you know, when I look at the high prices and the gas and I look at all of that stuff. I mean, people are going to die. They're going to die of grief, heart attacks. They're going to die when they look at that bill. They're going to look at that gas tank and the pump and say, what, how much? They might die. People are going to die. All right. So now I'm afraid. See, this is building a case of why these folks right here need to be censored. They need to be removed from the internet because they're putting our lives in danger and people might just die. No, not Mike. People are going to die. And see, every time they come out and be saying stuff like what you're about to hear about conservatives, I feel like they're putting a target on my back. So YouTube, do what you do.
You're saying, Tone, we have to deal with the rhetoric. And, you know, I agree with you, but it's not really rhetoric we can deal with. I mean, you have millions of people tuning into a propaganda network every night. And then, as if that were not bad enough, that's an extremist network itself. You have these fringe pop-up outlets, you know, from OWN to Newsmax. Then you have the social media component. That train has left the station. There is no let's deal with the rhetoric. At this point, I do think we have to have serious conversations around preparing for actual violence. People keep saying a civil war is coming. I would say a civil war is here. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic. We can look at what has happened just in the past week alone. Since all this has happened, we've had 2 people try to declare war with FBI field offices. I don't think at this point we're going to all pack up our bags and go home and sing Kumbaya.
So wait, because Tiffany is out here saying that all these conservative networks and all of us who watch these conservative networks are being brainwashed and it might lead to civil war when nobody on our side is talking about civil war. And I happen to be one of those people who watch those networks. That puts a target on my back and it makes me feel uncomfortable and she's trying to unexist me and I'm afraid for my life because who knows? Some crazy person might believe Tiffany and then all of a sudden it puts my life in danger. People are going to die. YouTube, get her off. Let's see who else.
It's people like former CIA Director Michael Hayden who are to blame when they tweet that modern Republicans are, quote, the most nihilistic, dangerous, and contemptible political force in all of history.
Whoa. Now, if I was just to believe that, I mean, I might be one that say, well, we got to do something about these modern Republicans. And maybe that puts a target on our back. That right there is inflammatory hate speech. And that man needs to be taken off of Twitter and whatever else. Because people just might die. And I feel scared. All right, what else?
How are we going to really almost deprogram these people who have signed up for the cult of Trump?
The cult of Trump.
They are members of a cult, the Trumpist cult.
I'm being accused of being in a cult.
And we have to be deprogrammed.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
I'm a deplorable.
The racist, sexist,
racist,
homophobic,
xenophobic,
you name it.
You name it. That right there, she's calling all of us that, man. And you know what? I'm afraid for my life. People might get killed because of that rhetoric right there. They just called us all kind of names. They said we was in a cult. And far as I knew, I wasn't in no cult. And far as I know, I'm no racist, homophobe, xenophobe, and whatever else that Hillary Clinton just called us. Now, imagine how that might influence some people out there that might believe this stuff. And then that puts a target on my back and I'm afraid for my life, okay? Because people just might die, including me. And I don't want to die. So YouTube, Twitter, who else? Facebook. Since you're going out there and you're trying to go ahead and manage conversation and dissent because you're being sensitive to everybody's feelings and you don't want to offend nobody. And so therefore, let's not take the risk. Either way. See, because like Jordan Peterson was saying, if you're going to have dissent or if you're going to disagree, you're going to risk offending somebody. So why are you just protecting certain people from being offended by somebody criticizing them and not the others? I want some of that protection too. I want these people removed because I'm afraid for my life, YouTube. I hope you're listening. Let's continue because the hate speech don't just stop there.
Fundamentally, right now, what is on the ballot this November? Let's not make any mistake about it. And I think the Liz Cheney results from this week made it crystal clear. The choice is not between Democrat and Republican.
It's not?
It's between democracy and fascism.
Wait a minute. Now that man just called me a fascist. He just called somebody, get him off the internet because that puts my life in danger. He's making me unexist right now as he just called me a fascist. Now, last I checked, I wasn't no fascist. That's right there is hate speech 101. Get them off YouTube.
This is how bad things begin. And it's how bad things have begun historically. It's how what happened in Nazi Germany. They began to burn books. They began to tell people how to think. That is what's happening with people like Rick DeSantis, people like Greg Abbott. People need to wake up. There's certainly a woke problem, but it's the fact that people need to wake up as to what's happening with these two leaders in this country.
No, wait, I support those two leaders. No, wait a minute. I'm no Nazi. I am no Nazi. In fact, I know a little bit about history, and what we support and believe in is not Nazism. But what if some people out there, they listen to this guy and they believe him? Now I'm scared. I'm scared. That guy just put my life in danger. That's hate speech because he called me a Nazi. He criticized me. That's what that dude did. That guy right there has dissent that scares me, and that is hate speech. YouTube, you know what to do. All right, wait, what's this?
The problem the Republican Party has is they got really stupid people that vote in their primary.
Now I'm stupid.
And when you have that, you're going to get really stupid people demand to have really stupid leaders. And that's where the Republican Party is now.
Man, that man right there, as a black man, that's racism right there. That man just called me stupid. Okay, see, I thought that the internet was supposed to be sensitive and protect black folks and all of that stuff because we the victims of this type of white supremacy and this type of stereotype, because this guy right here just called all of the people who vote for Republicans stupid. I wonder if he knows that as a black man, because see, he hates racism. He said in another clip that racism is bad, all of that stuff. But I wonder if he feels that calling black conservatives stupid is bad as well, because that hurts my feelings. That's hate speech. And therefore, by their rules and by the internet's rules and big tech's rules, then that right there is dissent that puts my life in danger, and it makes me feel concerned and scared. He's not allowed to say anything negative or bad about me, Republicans, the voters, none of that stuff, because any of that stuff could be interpreted as criticism that puts our life in danger, and hate speech because it makes us feel some kind of way on the inside, and it might influence others to look at us negatively. So therefore, get these people off the internet. I'll be waiting, YouTube, for your reply. I'm sure they'll censor my video for pointing out the hypocrisy. I'm sure they will make sure my views are suppressed. I'm sure they'll make sure this video is censored. Not all of these clips, though. Not all of these clips of these people criticizing us, calling all conservatives names, throwing us all under the bus, throwing these assumptions out there. No, they won't get the criticism. Their videos won't be demonetized. Their views won't be suppressed. It'll be mine. And I'm the victim. I'm the victim. So y'all, because YouTube don't like black people or conservatives and stuff like that, and they want to see us unexist, I'm gonna need y'all to help me by sharing my video, following me on all the other platforms, hitting that like button, making sure you're still subscribed, making sure your notifications are turned on to all of those things that I used to didn't have to do before YouTube start hating on me because I'm a black man and I'm a conservative. I guess I'm just guessing. See, I'm just guessing because they don't do nothing. They don't do nothing to stop these people from using all this hate speech, Facebook and Twitter, all of them. It's okay for them to throw that out there and criticize us, but we can't do it to them. We can't do it to them. So the protection only goes one way. So I'm relying on you guys. Make sure you follow my podcast. And then if you want to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, feel free. Since I don't get no commercials no more and stuff, please feel free to do that. The links are below, my Cash App, PayPal, all that good stuff. All right. So as I get out of here, y'all pray for me that YouTube and Facebook and Twitter protects me from all of these hateful people and their hateful words that puts my life in danger as they try to make me unexist. Okay, I guess I'm safe for now. God bless y'all. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Maybe.